you guys, but we're going to talk a little bit about business and how we turned basically a big nerd club into an actual business. And it really was about being wrong a lot, over and over and over again. Funny enough, we launched what we called VICE, the Versix Institute of Counter-Espionage, in 2009 or 10. And we were basically took our girlfriends at the time and we filmed them as these sort of Charlie's Angels style folks on an immersive adventure. And we didn't know what to call this thing at the time. And it was kind of, you had to get through a room of laser beams and discover secret information and had this sort of hour-long adventure that took you all over downtown. Get through a room of laser beams, which you can't really see very well. And I just had to pull up the way we described it at the time, because the word escape room didn't really exist yet, and we were just sort of grasping for what is this thing? It's a physical location. Players get a little introductory video, and then they go to a briefing room, and the experience is a movie, a video game, a scavenger hunt. We were just sort of like casting about, trying to figure out what that was, and didn't work. We didn't make any money at it. You know, it was a wonderful experience. We spent a ton of money and made none, and then we said, well, gosh, this just doesn't scale at all. So what if we use mobile phones? Everybody's got a mobile phone. We can create an immersive experience with a mobile phone. We will overlay on the world a bunch of different hexagons and whatnot. There will be flowers everywhere on the streets, and you'll have to go to the physical street in order to collect the fruit and all this stuff. And that didn't really work either. People just were like, fuck that. What do you mean? You're going to go out on a GPS? You're going to walk down the street to play a game? That's ridiculous. We're so not. So we were like, okay, yeah, screw that. Let's go back to the physical stuff. So, oh, you can't really see that at all. We were like, well, Rock Band is awesome. Space Battle is awesome. Let's do Rock Band for Space Battle. It'll be a 3-on-3 game. There'll be a pilot, a gunner, a navigator on the blue ship, a pilot, a gunner, and a navigator on the red ship, and we're gonna have to try to destroy each other's bases. Now this thing, Eric and I were so excited, right? We spent a whole month building this thing. 4 computers, 2 projectors, multiple displays, different controllers, all this kind of stuff. We installed it and everybody was like, huh? How do you play this thing? We were like, gosh, this is really, damn it, this is not working. Okay, so we're casting about, we're trying to figure stuff out, and so we're like, well, let's just start, we're gonna start doing consulting, right? We're gonna work with brands, we know that they like doing stuff, so we start a proper circus, and we just start engaging with lots of brands. They're excited about immersive and experiential. It's starting to sort of take root with consumers. So we built what is now called an escape room for the CW and Warner Brothers and toured it around. You got to feel what it was like to be a superhero. We helped Dave & Buster's explore VR, literally drove down to Oculus, met with Palmer and Brandon, got the earliest releases of the headsets and built a 4-player driving game before VR attractions were really happening. And learn, they had very real questions. How long do people want to do it? Do they care about the cleanliness? What are they willing to pay? And it was very interesting. No, they don't care about the cleanliness, it turns out. But it was a really, we started to learn, like, God, putting people through VR in public is an absolute nightmare, right? Super low throughput. Really, people have, it's not very social. We really had to really struggled with that. Did a huge project for the NFL at the Super Bowl, put a bunch of VR experience so you could feel what it was like to run the touchdown pass, vibrating plates, put 30,000 people through this experience, 7 at a time. So that is as punishing as it sounds.
So we built, for the Mexican Board of Tourism, of all folks, we built a beautiful fluffy cloud, which was installed in Germany. Why would you install a beautiful fluffy cloud in Germany for the Mexican Board of Tourism? Because every time it rains in Germany, this cloud rains tequila. Could you think of a better advertisement for visiting Mexico?
Come to Mexico.
Come to Mexico.
But we, the branding, the consulting stuff, it was fun, it was interesting, weird things like this, but we really did want to go direct to consumer, right? We really wanted to build our own IP, we wanted to build our own stuff, we didn't have a lot of money, and so we said, well, we're gonna throw a big carnival, right? We've been building immersive stuff for a while, but we don't have money to do it, so we're going to put it on Kickstarter. Which, for most people putting something on Kickstarter, right, you're selling a watch, anybody in the world can be your customer. We were like, hey, we want to throw an event somewhere in LA. We don't know when or where. Want to buy a ticket? But the amazing thing is the visibility that we got for it really allowed us the opportunity to do it. We raised $100,000. Not enough to throw a carnival, as it turns out. But what happened
enough to film a video advertising.
Yeah. We literally made the money back on the video. And then, so sort of on the backs of this thing, we were able to then go to brands and start to say, hey, look at this, the appetite for this thing. All these people bought, $100,000, $25 at a time. We're ready to engage in this. Please sponsor us. Please sponsor us. And end up raising $1.5 million in sponsorship to be able to pull this thing off. Now, literally, we had mortgaged every cent we had from the. Now, just imagine yourself. There are 15,000 people about to arrive, and from the floor of the event, with vendors in front of me, we're closing the phone call with the bank in order to transfer the money so that I can start writing checks to be able to give it to everybody. We so should have died and exploded on the rocks 1 million times. But managed to get that thing built. Brought it to San Francisco last year. One half the high-tech entertainment we've been making, one half the hands-on projects where kids could learn about science and engineering. Just one of our favorite attractions. Remember the old dunk tank where you throw a ball and you fall in water? We were like, water, pretty cool. Fire's way better. And so ours is the dunk tank flambe. You throw a ball and you're immersed in a fireball, but you don't die because you're wearing that fire suit. I would say this is maybe my favorite picture in our whole canon. This kid is literally not going to forget that moment. Short video, is this going to work? You're not going to be able to.
There we go.
But you can see this as, we were, the thing that was so fun, for this event, we were sponsored by IBM and Intel and Autodesk and a fire suit company. And we've done it once in LA and people were having a ball, and then we get we're going up to San Francisco, we're like a week out, and I call up the fire suit guy. I'm like, hey dude, we're getting ready to go to San Francisco. We're bringing the dunk tank. Hey, do you have those suits in kid sizes? He was like, what? No, I don't have kid sizes. What are you talking about? And I can watch him totally sort of back up on the decision to work with us. So we finally are opening up our own place, right? Eric and I have been working together for a decade, being wrong on a lot of things. So we're really hoping we're going to be super wrong with this one. But we call it a micro amusement park, which is a term we just made up. There hasn't been a new amusement park built in America in 20 years. This is small for an amusement park, but huge for a retail complex, right? 50,000 square feet, so it's about a half a city block. First one's going into downtown LA. We're literally building it right now. It's this ridiculous blue and red painted building. It's like they knew we were coming. And we open it in 4 months. So that's nerve-wracking. And we think of this thing literally as like a big iPhone. And so we've got a whole bunch of different attractions, a whole reimagined arcade with different kinds of stuff. You've got to talk to this, Eric.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. So we are building a robot bartender because robots are coming for your jobs, in case you were wondering. We've built robot bartenders in the past and taken them all around the country. And one thing we learned is that no matter where you go, a robot is not allowed to hand a drink to a human being. Human being has to be able to look you in the eye and make sure that you're sober enough and that you're old enough. And so we realized that a human being has to be part of our robot bartender. So our robot bartender is essentially a theatrical experience. It's a collaboration between a robot, a big, beautiful robot that we're building, and a human being who's controlling it with giant levers and having a conversation with the robot. Think R2-D2 and C-3PO. You got the video?
And then hopefully we'll get some audio for this.
I think so.
You can't quite hear that. Maybe if I sit right close to it. So you've got the bartender. She just ordered the electric lemonade. The Ferris wheel of booze goes, gets the mixers. Okay, great. Puts it into this little crazy shaker. You get a nice little show. At which point, it's the electric lemonade, so we have to charge it with 100,000 volts of electricity. And then you're off and running. An interactive supper club about the size of this, we're quite excited about. We've done a lot of VR, but we're really looking for VR that is social, right? How do you get people playing together? Right? So two approaches for us is, one on VR, just you alone, right? Not so social and has the throughput considerations that are super problematic. So we're always looking for things that have one of two characteristics. One, the act of you being in VR is wonderful for everybody else to watch, right? Me freaking out, thinking I'm about to fall off the top of a building, that's entertainment for 20 people. And then the other one is asynchronous play. How can we do something where Eric is in VR and is Godzilla. All of you guys have controllers looking at a screen and you're the tanks in the world trying to stop him from doing that, right? 5 people entertained, only 1 person in VR. So you end up being able to get more interaction. You know, there's some secret thing that the VR person sees or some experience they get that is working with everybody else. So we have this, what we sort of call the cabanas, which are a way to be able to do that interaction. That space thing couldn't quite die, our rock band for Space Battle. So this is a really ridiculous room that is literally like you're on the bridge of a starship, and then we all collaborate in order to be able to make sure we don't crash into a planet. So we're all, if you played Space Team, it's a little like a huge room for that. And then episodic, you're able to really go through lots of different worlds, lots of different experiences, kind of trying to augment the approach to escape rooms that really, there's not a lot of repeatability when you're looking at some of those. Once you know where the key is, you can't do it again. You want to talk a little bit about the Midway?
I would love to. So, look, we're building a micro amusement park, and when you cross the threshold into this place, you're going to be transported into this circus world that we're creating. And we're at an immersive design conference, and so there's been a lot of talk about storytelling here today. We keep talking about games. We love games. But there's something really interesting that happens at the intersection of games and stories. And games kind of break down social barriers that make people more receptive to appreciating the stories that we will tell in this space. And to me, the Midway is kind of the core of that. The Midway is filled with all the crazy games, the throwing and the tossing and all those things. But to me, the Midway has always been like the center of the fever dream that is the circus, right? Like I always feel like just around that corner or just behind that tent wall, there is crazy stuff going on. And that's where our storytelling starts in the park. Flip the slide. We've been talking a lot about stages and removing the frame. In traditional theater works great in spaces with big open areas. But our kind of theater, it thrives in the nooks and crannies. And this place is full of nooks and crannies. And make no mistake, we want this space to be the sort of venue where all of us can put on the kinds of shows that we're talking about today. So I'm really excited about that part of it. It's immersive throughout, but it's not just physical space that we're using to tell these stories. We're really proud of the fact that we're, 5 minutes remaining. All right. We're really proud of the fact that we're also a technology company. We were born as a technology company. So we've got physical space with digital rabbit holes. And so you can find yourself wandering around a space, exploring another world that's kind of just behind the screens, just behind the walls.
And folks, our invitation to you is, there's so few places to be able to consume immersive entertainment, and we all know what that word means, but a lot of the public doesn't, and they don't even know to look for it. And so we really like to think of this as a new place to experience that stuff and to be a showcase, a platform to be able to run the wonderful stuff that you guys are out creating. And so those digital rabbit holes and the physical space, there's a closet that is empty but behind a locked door. There's a big blank room. There's a number of locked boxes. There's all sorts of places that we can curate and install different kinds of components and stuff that we didn't make, stuff that is part of what you have. And we would love to know what other things you'd love to see in there, right? What are some of the tools that would be helpful? Now, obviously, site-specific theater, so it's very clear in a traditional theater to have a stage and a bunch of chairs, and okay, I'm going to put my performance up. For site-specific, we know that's a lot more broad, but share with us whatever you would like to see in there. We'd love to help put it on. From you got to talk about the outdoors.
One additional piece of one additional tool in our toolbox, as it were, is a technology platform that layers over every part of the park, including the lights and the sound and all the environmental effects and all the games themselves. They all talk to one central controller, and by writing creative software on that controller, we can start to puppeteer experiences all around the park that are a combination of human-driven experiences with actors wandering around the park and things that happen on your phone, happen on the games. And when I say that there are stories happening behind every wall, there really are. what do I mean by a digital rabbit hole? What do I mean like inside the games? Do you remember the sublime joy of discovering your first Easter egg in a game? The thing about the games that we're putting into this park is that for many of them, you'll play them and have an ordinary fun time. And then you'll play them again while you're sort of under the spell of a story that we're telling. And new things will appear in the games that are relevant to the story that you're experiencing. Can we get next? So for example, everyone walks around with phones in their hands, no matter where you go. We can tell stories using people's phones that tie into the space itself and utilize so many of the different pieces that we have in the park. So for example, the bartender. The bartender can be part of the story. You might be compelled to go up to the bartender, get some information, and use that to modify the state of a game elsewhere.
And to be clear, we would rather it was your story, right? Like we will have a test version, but the opportunity to be able to give you the tools, the SDK to be able to insert inside of that.
Skip to the end, I think.
So think of it really as a circus, an amusement park with an API, right? There's literally a programmer's interface into this, a theater's interface inside of this tool. Now we want to maybe stop here so we can do so we can get you up here, and then we'll start to do some questions. And I think the hard mechanical sides of all this is probably some of the most fascinating stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, great,
Cool.
Well,